Welcome to the Knockout Hour, Episode 5. Got my co-host across from me, Uncle Coco, producer Josh. Say what's up.
What's up?
It's time!
What's up, everyone? So today we're back and we're going to be previewing UFC 274, which is coming up this Saturday, May 7th at 6 p.m. is when the prelims start and the main card starts at 10.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to kick off the card going with Andre Filio and Cameron Van Camp. Andre Filio coming in, 1-1 in his UFC career. Actually had a pretty tough fight in his first fight, Pereira, which is going to be rumored to be fighting Sean Strickland on 276. So pretty tough fight. Did lose that one, coming off a knockout victory in his last fight. He's getting his hands full with Cameron Van Camp here. You want to continue on that?
Yeah, the reason why I'm super excited for this fight, Cameron Van Camp is out of Indianapolis, specifically fighting out of Lebanon, Indiana. So love to see the local guys get in there and see what they can do. But as you mentioned, Fialho is a very tough first opponent. Like you said, he had the decision loss to Pereira, and then actually KO'd Miguel Baeza, who was a pretty hot upcoming prospect. So. And not to mention, he's fought at a high level for a long time. Like, I know he's 1-1 in the UFC, but before that, he's fought in Bellator and he's fought in PFL. So, I mean, really tough first fight for Cameron Van Camp. But I'm really excited to see what he can do. I know he was the champion of a few local organizations around here. I know he fought at one of the organizations that I follow, that being Coliseum Combat, which is out of Kokomo. So he's fought a lot of the local fight scene. And I'm really excited to see him.
B2 as well, yeah. Yeah,
B2 fighting series. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what he can get in there and do this weekend. He is going into the fight as a pretty big underdog. The Vegas odds have him at plus 310 and Andre Fialho at minus 400. So pretty big underdog there. Not sure if I'd bet on that one, but I'm rooting for him, and I'm really excited to see Cameron get in there and see what he can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am too. Going up the card, one of the next fights we're going to talk about, Brandon Raval and Matt Schnell. Going into this, the favorite is, it is Raval minus 210. Raval is actually pretty tough. Had some pretty good fights with the win over Tim Elliott and Kai Kara-France. Losing to Brandon Moreno, which in the title picture, and then it's 1-1 since then. What do you think on this one?
Yeah, I think Raval here probably would be a safe call. I'm actually a pretty big fan of Matt Schnell. He's one of my favorite fighters in this division, so I would definitely like to see him pull it out. But just with a lot of the competition that Raval's fought and had success against, I'm not sure if Matt Schnell hasn't really had those big names to his resume. I mean, the biggest one that I can see right now would be Rob Font, and he lost that one in the first round. So I like Matt Schnell. I wouldn't be shocked if he won this because he is a really high level fighter, and I'm really excited to see him on this weekend's card. Next, we'll go ahead and move up to one of Derek's personal favorites, that being Chaos Williams, who will be fighting Randy Brown on the main event of the prelims on Saturday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right now, the fight's basically a pick'em. Chaos being the minus 115 favorite, Brown being the minus 105 underdog. But like I said, it's basically a pick'em fight. I just personally like Chaos myself. He's definitely won me some money in the past, and he's an absolute monster, and can't go wrong with the name Chaos in general. But Randy Brown, obviously, really, really good in the ring as well, in the octagon. Definitely not one to sleep on. I actually think this is going to be one of my favorite fights on the card. I think it's going to be a slugfest.
Yeah, definitely has the potential to be the fight of the night for sure. I'm also rooting for Chaos Williams on this one, especially with him being also from somewhat this area. He's from up north a little bit in Michigan, but definitely rooting for him just from being from around here. He's 4-1 of the UFC. Looks like he's done pretty good. He lost to Michel Pereira via unanimous decision, but besides that, I mean, he's got 4 other wins in the UFC. All look to be pretty good. So, and Randy Brown's good, like Derek said, but one thing about him too is he's always kind of choked in the big fights. I mean, whenever he fought Luque, he lost. Nico Price, who's decent. Bilal Muhammad. So while he's a really high level fighter, I don't know if he's quite at the top tier, so to speak. And Chaos Williams, I mean, besides the loss to Michel Pereira, I mean, has 4 other wins in the UFC. So I'm looking for him to win this one personally. But all right, what fight would you like to move on to next, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. The next fight, the first fight on the main card, it's one of your favorites, the Cowboy, Donald Cerrone. Man, I think it's going to be a good fight for both of them. I'm hoping Cowboy doesn't look bad like he has in some of his last fights. He's looked a little bit slow. And, man, looking back, he hasn't won a fight in his last 5. So, hey, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see Cowboy this weekend for the first time in a while. It's tough, though. He's going up against another legend in Joe Lozon, who has a ton of fight of the night bonuses and always is an exciting fighter to watch. So this is going to be a good fight, even though they're both in the later stages of their career. Honestly, if Cowboy wins this one, I would really like to see him lay the gloves down and hang it up. I'd like to see him go out on top. He's the current slight favorite at a -175, and you have the comeback on Joe Lozon at +150. So it's a pretty close so far across the betting lines. But yeah, I mean, Cerrone looks good in his last one for a while, and then I mean, it's just one of those things. He looks good until the wheels fall off. I mean, not really too much to say about it, but he definitely needs this bounce back win. I think getting there against someone who he knows is going to be an exciting fight like Joe Lozon, I think, is a good matchup for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think he's definitely a legend of the game. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing him hanging up if he does end up winning this. Definitely hoping for a win out of him, though.
Yeah, both of them are absolute legends. So I mean, this fight's going to be awesome. One thing that worries me is maybe the gas tanks towards the end. I know Lozon's usually pretty good about it. Cerrone's normally really good about it too, but his last one, he looked kind of iffy the longer it went on. But yeah, going to be an interesting one at I believe 155. So
yeah, no,
absolutely.
We'll see. Going up to the next fight on the main card, Event St. Perex and Mauricio Shogun Rua. Man, you want to talk about another legend, man. Shogun is, always been, I'm not going to say one of my favorites, but definitely one of my favorites to watch, like, in the octagon. Like, I don't always root for him, but he always puts on a good fight. His last fight was, I believe, in November of 2020, where Vince has been a little bit more active in the UFC, getting in the octagon more. Vince definitely coming off a couple losses, so definitely looking to bounce back. But yeah, I think this one's going to be pretty good too. I mean, I honestly think Vince wins this. He's he's the betting favorite at -230. Shogun's +190 as of right now. But I'm going to Vince on this one for sure. I think Shogun, I just don't know what he has left in the tank.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. Would definitely love to see Mauricio Shogun come back and get a nice little win, but I just don't know. He's been out of the game for a little bit. I mean, since 2020. That's not a crazy gap, but I mean, plus with St. Preux, he's been more active, but he has had a rough patch too. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Mauricio came out and won this one. To be honest, I mean, I could honestly see it going either way. I think St. Preux being a -230 is a little bigger than it should be. Personally, I wouldn't mind betting on that one actually. With him at that, his last loss was to Paul Craig, but Paul Craig's an animal, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's gonna be like you said though. It's gonna be a sick fight either way. I'm actually really excited for a lot of the fights on this card. A lot of them, every fight on this card has the potential to be the fight of the night, and especially you're talking about the fight of the night. This next fight especially has a chance to be that, and that being Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to this. I actually kind of a fan of Michael Chandler. Kind of hoping he comes out here and does some work. Both of them in their last 3 fights, they have lost to the champ, Charles Oliveira, and they both have lost to Justin Gaethje. Ultimately, I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think, Chandler, obviously the favorite, -400. I personally think Chandler's got this in the bag, but you can't count Ferguson out. He's a master of the game. He's like I said, this one's going to be a banger for sure.
Yeah, you could definitely never count Tony Ferguson out. He was an absolute stud. I know he's had a rough patch as of late, but against absolute killers and Gaethje, Chandler, so both the people in the main event, and then Bilal Muhammad, who's number 4 or 5 in the world. So, I mean, he's fought absolute killers in this little scuffle that he's had. But like you said, Michael Chandler, I mean, he's an animal too. He just had a banger of a fight against Gaethje. Before that, he lost Oliveira as well. So, excited for it, man. I don't know though. I mean, it's tough to tell here because, I mean, you have Michael Chandler, who's looked good in every single UFC fight. I mean, I know he got knocked out by the champion, but before that, he had almost put Oliveira's lights out. Very easily could have been a world champion right then. Then comes out, and him and Gaethje just have an absolute war. If you have not watched that fight, I would definitely recommend going back and watching it. I believe it won Fight of the Year last year, actually. And then Tony Ferguson, man, you just can never count him out. He's been in there against the best. I mean, he's just beat the hell out of everyone in this division. Even his losses have not been easy fights for anyone who's been in there with. And, you know, I watched an interview recently, today actually, of him talking about how he just kind of reinvented himself and reinvented his camps. He's feeling better than ever. I mean, I know it's pretty much a cliche thing that every fighter says, but he looked good. I mean, if he feels good, I mean, maybe he's got a chance. I really think he's got a chance always, but especially here, it looked like he's really taking the time to fix up his camp and share it up, because he said, like, before, he just wanted everything to be so secretive because he didn't want people to know his regiments and what he does. But now he's actually brought in he was a national champion wrestler at Grand Valley State, and his team was actually national champion too. So Grand Valley State, the wrestling team was national champions, and he's recently brought in his former coach, to help kind of structure his camps and work on his wrestling more, especially with Chandler being a heavy wrestler. That might give him, I think Ferguson's better on the feet personally, and I mean, if Tony goes back to his wrestling roots here, this could be a one to bet on, especially with Ferguson being a plus 10 underdog right now and Chandler being a minus 400 favorite. I think it's a little bit closer to what people are saying. I'm not saying Tony's going to go here and win it, but I think Tony has a lot more of a chance than what people think. I don't think he's quite washed like people are saying. And let's not forget, Michael Chandler's getting up there in age too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think it's going to be an absolutely great fight. This whole card is just absolutely great, honestly. They did a really good job putting this together. Really, really excited for Saturday.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to pick any fight out that's not going to be great, honestly. They all just seem like they're going to be absolute bangers. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the co-main event, which is Thug Rose Eunice versus Carla Esparza for the women's strawweight title. So what are your thoughts on that, Derek? I know this one's an interesting one.
I honestly think Thug Rose takes this. I'm not going to say specifically easy. She's a minus 220 favorite, and I'm going to say that's probably the lock. I think she's going to win. I mean, don't get me wrong, Esparza is on a 5-fight win streak going into this. I just think Thug Rose is – I honestly think she's the champ for a reason in this specific fight. I just think she's got all the tools to make it happen, and honestly, I'm going to go knockout. And we don't see a lot of women's knockouts as of right now. There's only been a few women's finishes on the year so far, and I think this is going to be one of them for sure.
Yeah, this one's definitely an interesting one, though, with Esparza already having a win over Eunice once at the end of the Ultimate Fighter. So, I mean, if Thug Rose hasn't came up with that formula to beat Esparza, I mean, she's got to stop that wrestling. Esparza's crazy good at the wrestling, and if Thug Rose doesn't have that shirt up, it could be a long night for her really quick. I do think Thug Rose finds a way to pull it out. I think she's the better fighter here, but with Esparza already beating her in the past and knowing that she's beating her, just having that in her head going into this next one, I mean, it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a good fight. It's tough. It's really tough to pick here, honestly. I mean, I like to root for Thug Rose. She's one of my favorites, but I could see Esparza winning this too. Especially with how good her wrestling, man, is. She's just like Michael Chandler is. Like, most people know exactly he's going to go in there and wrestle and box, and that's exactly what Esparza does. But nobody can defend it. Like, she's just really good at what she does. And I mean, Thug Rose is a really high level striker, so she really has to shore up. She really has to shore up that wrestling. She shores up that wrestling. I think it'll be good to go. I think she'll be good to go, but it's not going to be easy. I think this is going to be a long, grueling 25 minutes for both. I think they're both going to be really exhausted once the fight's coming to an end. but it should be an absolute war. I could also, like you said, I could definitely see Thug Rose winning by knockout.
I think it's going to be a good one. Going off to the main event, this is going to be an absolute amazing fight. The odds are minus 170 for Oliveira, plus 145 for Gaethje. And honestly, I think this is going to be a great fight, man. And I wasn't sold on Oliveira until the Dustin Poirier fight. Thought his championship fight to get the championship. I, still wasn't all that sold on him. Thought he really sold me on the Poirier fight. That was to me, his first real challenge, just to get that title defense in there. But I mean, Gaethje is he's a monster, man. And I think this is going to be an absolute banger, whether it's the wrestling match, which wouldn't necessarily surprise me with Oliveira, or if they just end up standing out and just slugging it out. Either way, I think this is going to be my personal favorite match of the night, I believe. I think it's going to be a high-paced match for all 5 rounds, and I don't think we're going to be bored at all with this fight.
Yeah, I'd definitely be shocked if this one went to the judges, honestly. Whether it's Gaethje knockout or Oliveira submission. I mean, I think both these guys have so many weapons and so many ways to win the fight that I don't see this going to the judges. One thing though, I've been kind of hearing that, since Justin Gaethje just had that college wrestling background, he's not going to be able to get Oliveira down. But let's remember, I mean, Oliveira finished the fight with Poirier without ever even. I mean, he got him down in the second round, but he won that fight by just hopping on his back and just in a clinch, basically. So he doesn't have to get that. He doesn't have to get you down to submit you. I mean, that's the crazy thing about Oliveira. So I don't really know how well that argument sticks for most people that believe that. But another thing is, I mean, people have been saying that I've heard, like I've noticed myself, is Oliveira has got knocked down in both of his last 2 fights. I mean, we were just talking about how Michael Chandler, I mean, just like that, could have been the world title holder instead of him. Yeah. And then he got knocked down against Poirier and almost finished there. And then he always ends up getting back up and finding a way to finish it. But I personally think Gaethje probably hits harder than Poirier and Chandler. So I'm not sure if he's going to have that margin for error that he did before. And he might get his lights put out pretty early. Especially if he wants to. I think Oliveira kind of feels like he has a lot to prove, and if he wants to go out there and kind of prove that he can hang with Gaethje on the feet, it might be a short night for him.
No, I agree. And me personally, I'm actually taking Justin Gaethje in this fight. I don't know how you feel on that, but I'm definitely in my parlay and putting Gaethje in for the final leg. Like I said, I wasn't all that sold on Oliveira. I think he did a really good job with Poirier. But I just think Gaethje's gonna, I think it's gonna end up being a slugfest. I don't think Oliveira's gonna be able to get him into those clinches, and I definitely don't think he's gonna be able to dominate him. I think Gaethje's gonna end up catching him and actually putting him to sleep.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting either way. I think it's gonna be an absolute war. Like I said, I do not think it's going to the judges here. I would definitely bet a finish in some sort of fashion, or maybe even take the under 4.5 prop bets or something. Whatever your betting app has, I don't see this one going to the judges. I think it's very important for both these fighters to fight their fight. So Gaethje to be walking forward, throwing the hands, hitting them with the leg kicks. The leg kicks are going to be huge for Gaethje in this fight. Chop Oliveira's legs down as much as he can. Don't let him have those legs at the end of the fight, so he can't take you down if he tries. And then for Oliveira, it's going to be simple. Just stay out of the way, check the leg kicks, and circle away from Gaethje's power. Don't sit in front of him and let him throw those power shots at you. So, I mean, both these guys, even Oliveira and his losses, are not his losses, but on the feet with all these guys who are supposed to be better on the feet than him. I mean, he's shown high level striking, so I don't think Gaethje's gonna go out here by any means and make him look bad on the feet.
No,
but
absolutely.
It's just, I mean, both these guys, like I said, have so many weapons to win. It's gonna be so fun to watch.
No, I definitely agree. I think this whole card is gonna be insane. If you all weren't planning on watching, I know pay-per-view prices can be a little stiff, but I think this card is well worth the money. Honestly, UFC's been doing a really good job with their actual pay-per-view cards, really putting on bangers lately. I know we talked about 273 and how great that was. And then I think 274, I think this is going to be a great encore to that 273. I think we're going to be really excited for this. And that's going to do it for episode 5 of the Knockout Hour. Did want to thank you guys for all the views on our last video on episode 4. Got over 700 views. Did want to thank you all for that. Make sure you tune in this Saturday to UFC 274. Our reaction will be soon after, and we posted a video. We'll post on all our social medias and everything and keep you updated.